Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the MTG Brewery, or just welcome if this is indeed your first time joining us. Today, we're going to be going over some spoilers that Wizards has dropped for a surprise set they announced, the Furnace. Super cool. Catch our first video on it. This is day 2 of spoilers, so if you want the full story, go check out that first video. It's an ally-colored set. So, all the allied color factions are there. They each have their own thing going on, their own draft archetypes and whatnot. So pretty interesting. Before we jump into it, I'm going to introduce my co-host, Ian. Ian, what's up?
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
And I'd like to think they all said something back. I'm reusing that joke from last video. It's gonna hit harder than it did the first time.
At some point it has to, right?
Yeah, if it's not this time, then surely the next time I tell it, that'll be the one. So we have a good number of cards for y'all today. I think we have like 25 cards. We're gonna talk about the commons and uncommons first for the most part, and then ramp up to the spicier stuff. But that being said, we're gonna talk about this card first and foremost. Sorry. That being said, we are gonna talk about this card first because it does kind of represent the new mechanic in this set called Reveal. So we're just going to go over that super quickly. We kind of went into it more in depth last video, but just real quick, how Reveal works. When you cast a creature with Reveal, it comes into play under target opponent's control. You don't get that creature, someone else does. But then if you pay the Reveal cost, that creature exiles itself and then comes back into play under its owner's control. So you play this under your opponent's control, and then you pay the Reveal cost, it blinks itself, and then it's your creature. And all the Reveal cards we've seen basically have entered the battlefield triggers, and most of them trigger when they enter from exile. So it only triggers when you pay when you blink it as part of its Reveal cost. And that's kind of how it works. Ian, anything to add?
No, it's kind of like a Xancha effect, kind of, where you summon things under other people's control, except it's like a Xancha you want to get back. It's intriguing.
Yeah, it is interesting. We're not sure how good most of the Reveal cards are in Commander, because the more players there are, the more likelihood that your Reveal creature is going to die. But in one-on-one formats, it does seem to have some interesting uses. Hard to tell how competitive it's going to be. But some of these cards are good for Commander, too. I should probably say we're both primarily Commander players. I play some Standard, too. Ian, I think, dabbles in some Modern. So, yeah. That's kind of our background.
Ever so slightly, yes.
That's our background there. Let's go ahead and read this card, though. This card is Trazodon's Headhunter. This is a Rakdos black and a red Ogre. It's a 3/1. And it has Reveal for 1 and a red-black. And it says, when Trazodon's Headhunter enters the battlefield from exile, reveal the top card of your library and put it into your hand. Trazodon's Headhunter deals damage equal to its mana value to target player or planeswalker. So this is kind of cool. You kind of get one hit off of Dark Confidant off of it, and instead of you losing the life, you get to ding your opponent or a planeswalker. That's fun. It is 5 mana for a card. I guess you can sort of pay it in installments, 2 mana and then 3 mana. It's also probably 3 life for that card, because your opponent's probably going to hit you with the Headhunter, unless you reveal it the same turn you play it. So that's kind of expensive, but then you get to hit him back with whatever card you flip off the top of your library. So this card's interesting. I don't see it doing much anywhere outside of Limited, but I'm sure in the Limited environment, it's probably decent.
Yeah, I play this in Limited. I mean, it's some card advantage in Limited, and sorry, I got a frog in my throat. And it's like one of those commons that shows the mechanic really well, and just is okay.
Yeah, it's a fair card. It's fine. We can move on. Gray Street Volunteer. The only thing I'm going to mention is part of me looks at a vanilla 2 mana 3/1, and I know it's for draft and it's a curve filler and whatever, and it's just a wall of flavor text, which is fine. It's not even good flavor text, and it's just like, couldn't you have put something on this card, Wizards? Something.
Yeah, why is it always in white too? The 2 mana 3/1 is consistently in white, and normally it's a cat. I'll throw that out there too. So that's a nice little change of pace that it's not a cat this time.
That's true. That's true. It's not a Blade of the Sixth Pride or whatever, but a human peasant. I don't know. We can move on. Just stop making cards like this.
They're boring.
Next up, I think probably Commander All-Star staple, Desolation Ray. It's a black and a red.
Should be a rare?
I'm sorry?
Should be a rare, right? Just thinking out loud?
Yeah, we're going to actually...
Like, how is that an uncommon?
We're going to jump into that in just a second. Desolation Ray.
Oh, gotcha.
It's a black and a red for an instant. It's uncommon. Destroy target artifact, creature, enchantment, or planeswalker. You lose 3 life. So, I mean, clearly this hits a ton of things. Black can sort of hit enchantments now, so I guess that's how they're justifying it hitting enchantments. But this is like a million times better than Feed the Swarm. It's instant speed, and you're gonna probably lose less life unless you're targeting a pretty small enchantment. So yeah, this is an all-star. And yeah, as Ian said, it is probably should be rare. Ian, why don't you talk about this card instead of me for a second?
No, yeah, I'm just thinking, are there non-artifact creature planeswalker enchantment? Like, couldn't it just say destroy target non-land permanent? I
guess so.
Man, red-black taking the white-black kind of vibe there. This card's crazy.
Maybe it was a style thing, or maybe they're worried that, like, maybe they'll release other types of permanents later that they don't want Rakdos to be able to hit, or they don't know how it'll slot into the color pie. Truly the only thing I could think of.
Oh, Wizards, please. Not like this. No, this card's crazy, right?
It is. It's kind of insane, and it's even more insane because it's uncommon. Now, to me, this is what this signals to me. This signals to me that Wizards is maybe looking at formats like Modern and maybe looking at cards like Assassin's Trophy, which is I think played, and seeing how that's like a $13 card or whatever, and maybe they're trying to in some ways rectify that, and I like that, I don't like opening booster packs and getting rare single target removal. I know that's a weird thing to say because frequently it's very good, especially in one-on-one formats, but I don't know. I like that this is uncommon. I think it's a huge bone thrown to their player base.
Yeah, I don't want to make it sound like I'm complaining about it being an uncommon. I'm more just flabbergasted that it's an uncommon, because this is crazy. It's a Vindicate at instant speed for 1 less mana, and you you lose 3 life. Like, except it doesn't hit lands, but this is so good.
Yeah, maybe it's a misprint. Maybe they meant to tack on an extra generic mana like Rancor back in the day. Who knows? I'm glad it exists. I hope it's not instantly going to be like $7 or something, but it probably will be, right? Like, Expressive Iteration was an uncommon in Strixhaven. That was basically instantly $6, I think, at release. So this is probably going to be one of those. But better than being a $13 rare, I guess, right?
Shoot, even the D&D set has that one card draw card that's $3 at common. Was it where you sacrifice a creature or an artifact, make a treasure, draw 2 cards? It's $3
yeah,
or something like that. Crazy.
That's at uncommon, but yeah.
Is it uncommon? Okay,
I think it
common.
is. Deadly Dispute. I think we're talking. Yeah, yeah. It's common or uncommon, but yeah.
It's crazy though.
Yeah, good stuff. So, thank you, Wizards, for Desolation Ray. I will say maybe don't give black or red too many things that can hit enchantments. Otherwise, But I like it. Thank you. You know what? Just thank you. We can move.
Yeah, we're just grateful.
We're just grateful. Lurking Swiftblade is the next card we're gonna look at. 2 and a black for a human rogue. It's a 5/5, but don't freak out because it has reveal. A lot of these cards, if you take off the reveal, are incredibly overstated, but you realize you're probably gonna get hit with it. So it's a good thing and a bad thing. But this has a fun ability. When Lurking Swiftblade enters the battlefield from exile, put a lifelink counter on target creature. So, if you play this under your opponent's control, they're probably going to hit you with a 5/5, but then you get it back and it gets lifelink, so you're going to get that life back. So that's fun. Cool cool limited piece, I think.
I think this is probably hard to deal with in limited, especially if they play it on turn 6 when they can do both. Play it and reveal it. I'm sure that's very hard to deal with. But yeah, just unlimited, I think.
To that point, I would play a 6 mana 5/5 with lifelink and limited, right? If that's just all this card was, I would play that, I think. So,
anything above 4/4 is just hard to deal with. in my experience.
Very true. Very true. Still dies to Desolation Ray, though.
I think everything does.
Let's move on. It looks like here we're looking at one of our uncommon commanders that Wizards has been giving us a lot of these uncommon legendary creatures. This is Lena of the False Eye, 2 and a blue for a legendary creature, human wizard, at uncommon. And it's a 2/3. Lena of the False Eye can't be blocked. Cool. And then it has an ability for 1 and a blue. The next creature that enters the battlefield under your control this turn loses all creature types and becomes a blue angel illusion creature with base power and toughness 4/4 and has flying in addition to its other abilities. This is kind of nifty. I'm not going to play this as my commander, but, in conjunction with a lot of effects, like a young pyromancer, if you're making a lot of tokens, this can easily upgrade them. And it's another thing that I don't think this is the purpose of the card, but it can, if you're late in the game and you have this and you're playing mana dorks, it's another thing that upgrades your mana dorks. We've been seeing a lot of those in this set, things that can turn smaller creatures better in the late game, and I think that's kind of a cool space to fill design-wise. Yeah, Ian, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, my first thought was tokens, but I also just love tokens. That's half my commander decks are tokens. So I saw this next creature. I'm like, ooh, basically free 4/4 angels. Okay, I'm in. I mean, at 3 mana, but tacked on to whatever creature I'm already doing. Yeah, I mean, I think this is just might see some commander play. It's just a fun little uncommon, unless there's some kind of young pyromancer reprint kind of vibe or some what's the word I'm looking for? Not a reprint, but we can move on. It's fine.
If there's a young pyromancer-esque effect in this set, is what you're saying.
Yes, that would go perfectly with this.
I'm picking up what you're putting down, and I think our viewers are too. We'll move on. This is Unbridled Recruit, 1 and a red-green for a Centaur Warrior. That's a fun creature type. I like centaurs.
What did it? It's fine.
It's an uncommon. It's a yes. Sorry, it's a 3 mana 3/3 Centaur Warrior, uncommon with haste and trample, which is already fun. Whenever you attack with 1 or more creatures, you may 2 and a red-green. If you do, double target creature's power and toughness until end of turn. Very simple ability, but it's gonna be a beating and limited. I mean, great body and stats and abilities for what you're getting, and then any sort of mana sink late in the game that you have already good. And this one doubling power and toughness, it's 4 mana, but that's pretty good and limited. And I could see it in certain commander decks. If you're in Xenagos or something and you're already doubling something's power, doubling that power again is just gonna kill people. So I think this could go in commander decks. It's maybe a little clunky at 4 mana, but if there's any color combination that can generate 4 mana somewhat easily, it's got to be Gruul.
Yeah, I used to play when I was playing standard. I was playing a lot of it was Ravnica 3 block. So it was Gruul Spellbreaker and stuff, and that was essentially a hasty trampler 3/3 for 3, and that's this at uncommon with another upside. It just doesn't have hexproof. I think this might see some play. I also haven't played standard in a year and a half, but this seems playable to me, right?
In standard,
I'd try this out.
In standard, I do think there's probably better options. There's Reckless Stormseeker that can enter the battlefield as a 3/3 with haste, and then it can also give other things that enter the battlefield haste. It doesn't have trample, but I think that ability to spread the haste around is pretty good, and it's all for free.
For sure.
It's not going to double power and toughness, but I mean that ability definitely in a one-on-one game like standard is pretty easy to disrupt with removal, right? You just kill the creature you target, they target to double. And then they basically haven't played to the board and they get a little blown out. So it's sort of open to being blown out kind of easily, but I don't know. That's why I think this might see some play in Commander. But yeah, I think it could show up in Standard, definitely in budget decks. I think this could
I just picture, say, I don't know what if say this comes out on turn 3, you're attacking with a 6/6 with trample on turn 4.
Yeah, yeah.
That seems pretty decent.
That is pretty gross. That is pretty gross. Yeah, we can move on. A fun little piece, Unbridled Recruit. Next up, we have another one of these uncommon commanders. This is Cyrus, the Falling Knife. For 2 and a blue-black, it's a human rogue. It's a 2/3 with flash and flying. I'm gonna just say I love flash flyers. I know rogues was kind of the bane of like last rotation, but I will not lie, I was a dirty rogues player. I love flash flyers. You may play cards exiled with this permanent. At the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library, unless each opponent pays 2 life.
At 4 mana, seems expensive for constructed. Probably very good and limited. And I think that'd be like a cool like lower power commander, and even just like in like this fits right into a Anawan deck, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's a blue-black rogue with upside, so it goes in there. I think it's a cool card. It's like a nice power level where it's like powerful, but not like obnoxiously busted.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think if you're doing this in Commander, you're probably playing this, alongside like Sanguine Bond or something, right? You want to make it really painful for your opponents to pay that 2 life. Maybe just play this with a bunch of cards that like drain your opponents every turn, so they keep on giving you the card. But yeah, I mean, it's a fun card. Obviously not super competitive at that rate, but fun nonetheless.
For sure.
Let's move on. Next up, we got some more commons and uncommons here, but a couple of rares mixed in. We got Artful Lightfoot to start. This is 3 in a hybrid Dimir, so 5 mana total, for a 5/3. And it can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures defending player owns. It can't be blocked except by 2 or more creatures defending player... Oh, because of reveal creatures. So it can't be chump blocked by your own reveal creatures.
I was wondering why I didn't just say menace, but also I'm like a smooth brain.
No, me too. I was staring at it. I'm like, why did they template it this way? But
I'm like, why am I missing this? What's happening here? Thought I was like having a connection or something. No, okay, yeah, this seems still not playable except in limited, but like it's cool. I like the little workaround they did there.
I know it's we haven't seen a lot of sets that kind of play with like ownership versus control. I mean, obviously it's come up before, but this set really seems to be diving into that, which is cool. But yeah, we'll move on. Master of Ceremonies, tight name. This is a Ogre Druid for a black and a red. It's a 2/2, and it's uncommon. Spells you cast cost 1 generic less to cast for each life you have lost this turn.
Oh, it's legendary. So picture, if you will, you have this on. It's turn 2 or turn 3. You just play this as your commander. You fire Covenant for like 12 or something, and then you play a freaking Ulamog for free on turn 3. That's what I picture.
Okay, so yeah, that's a good point. It is legendary. Playing this with a bunch of Eldrazi seems like a pretty fun way to do a commander match, or any high cost artifacts. It says spells.
Seems like a great way to break up your play group. Yeah.
I mean, you're done. You have to have ways to dump your life total, which doesn't seem hard. Where actually else this could be really good in commander is oh shoot, what's that, the Rakdos partner? Vial Smasher. This would be good in Vial Smasher because you want to play spells on each opponent's turn with Vial Smasher. And so you can get very political if your opponent hits you. You can be like, dude, you probably don't want to hit me because it's going to ramp me into a spell that might ding you for a ton.
Yeah, I would play this in my Vial Smasher deck because Vial Smasher draws a lot of aggro.
Yeah. I think I really like this card. In the right shell, I think it's a major role player, and it's going to potentially do some degenerate stuff. Another card that's really good with Toxic Deluge would kill this. I take that back.
Yeah. I
take that.
But I mean, there's no lack of cards in black, especially that you can't just like lose life.
That's true. Oh, man. You know what's busted with this, too, is Phyrexian mana. You're already ramping off Phyrexian mana, and then each Phyrexian mana ramps you a further 2 generic.
This with a crick out is just broken.
Yeah.
Beyond all belief.
Yeah.
Because that can get you the generic mana with the Master of Ceremonies, and then the black mana with crick. Oh, that's gross.
Yeah. This could do some fun stuff for sure. It's, you know, I think it's a B because it is in very specific decks, but in those decks, I think it's one of the better, you know, cards in there, for sure.
In the decks it's good in, it's an all-star. It's just a niche player.
For some reason, this ogre has 2 heads, and every other ogre we've seen has 1 head. I don't know if that was intentional or not. Maybe talk to your art department, wizards. But we can move. I mean, the art itself is fine. Just inconsistent.
Quick question: what has a better name, this or Gore Liquor?
I'm surprised you mentioned Gore Liquor again. I think you were the one most offended by it. I like Master of Ceremonies as a name. I think it's hilarious.
I think it's funny. It's difficult to say. Like, it does not roll. Like, I think it's hysterical. It reads very funny. But the first 3 times I tried to say it out loud, I struggled.
But yeah, that's Master of Ceremonies. We can move on. A cool card, nonetheless. This is Peace Root Farmer. For 2 and a green gets you an elf, just an elf, a 2/3 elf. When Peace Root Farmer attacks, you may have it deal no combat damage this turn. If you do, search your library for a basic land card and put it into play, then shuffle your library. I don't think this is gonna see play in Commander. Maybe in Elves, but that's it. I mean, I think
Right? Like, this seems bad. Like, why would you play this over a Wood Elf, which is the same cost and then just better? And then,
but look at its body. This thing could eat Wood Elves for breakfast.
I mean, I guess.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
I don't know.
That was not
I
a
understand
genuine...
Oh no, I understand. I'm just like, sorry, I'm puzzled by the art because it looks like what's his face from Lord of the Rings, and I'm just trying to take in the whole thing here. There's just a lot to take in here. Hey, you know what? I like to see green being powered down. I'm into that.
Yeah. Well, you say that, but
there
are some cards coming later that seem to give green a little bit of spice.
That's not even a spoiler. It's just a new Magic set. We knew it was coming.
We knew it was coming. Yeah. Let's not even lie. Yeah. On that note, the art doesn't look like this is taking place in a prison city, but maybe. I don't know. Maybe I'm missing something. We can move on. Not a great card. Hollow Lit Watchman. This is 3 generic for an artifact creature construct. This is a common 3/3. When it enters the battlefield, return a non-land permanent you own to its owner's hand. And then for 5 generic mana, you can put a +1/+1 counter on it. This seems fine, you know, if you're trying to reset your ETBs, or you can bounce a reveal card back to your hand and then re-reveal it. So there's stuff you can do here. But yeah, I don't think we need to talk about it much at all.
I agree.
Let's move on. This is kind of a fun card. Archon of Community. This is 2 and a white for a human Archon. It's a rare. It's got flash, and it's a 2/1. When Archon of Community enters the battlefield until end of turn, the next creature that enters the battlefield enters as a copy of this creature. So this is sort of a white creature counterspell. It's also in very niche cases, if you're making a bunch of 1/1 tokens, this will chain together and turn them all into 2/1 tokens, because you have 1 token enter the battlefield and then it has the same ability, right? So it turns the next creature this turn into a copy of itself. So you can play it on your opponent's turn if you think they're gonna, you know, try and deploy a board. You can play it on their turn to basically make them not want to play creatures that turn, because every creature is going to be an Archon of Community. Of course, and because as Flash too, you know, if they just have a big creature on the stack, something you don't want them to have, you flash this in, and suddenly they just have a 2/1. So this is kind of cool.
Yeah, it's like a Containment Priest for 1 extra mana, but it's also not limited to things coming from the graveyard, right?
Yeah.
It serves like a similar purpose, so it's kind of cool. I think it could see some play. I think it'll get tested out for sure. Probably in unfair formats. I don't know if this sees standard play. somewhat tested out in like an older format where you have people doing shenanigans. But
Yeah, I could see this if you're in a blink deck, like resetting this with Ephemerate seems kind of nasty, right? If you have one white mana up on your opponent's turn and this on the board.
oh yeah,
So I think this will see some play in blink decks, for sure. But let's move on. Grim Calling. This is 1 and a black for an instant, and it is rare. Put target creature card in a graveyard with mana value less than or equal to the amount of life you've lost this turn onto the battlefield under your control. It becomes a zombie in addition to its other creature types. So potentially instant speed reanimation. Another card that's very good to play on your opponent's turn. Unfortunately, probably after they've hit you for a buttload of damage. But, we've been seeing a lot of Rakdos cards that can ping you on your upkeep or whatever. So I think this could potentially have a home. I mean, 2-mana reanimation spells are very much played. Obviously, this one has a kind of big hoop to jump through. But if you're in a deck that's already jumping through those hoops, then you're golden. And again, the political aspect of your opponents might not wanting to hit you for too much because you could, steal something out of their yard. Importantly, this comes out of any graveyard, so you can take your opponent's creatures, you can take your own creatures. Yeah, I like this card a lot. We don't get a lot of instant speed reanimation stuff. So I'm
it's like
I'm
reanimate, but in reverse order, where you have to lose the life before you can get the creature back, right? So reanimate is 1 cheaper. You bring a card from, I think it's from your yard. I don't remember off the top of my head. I should know. And it also might be a sorcery, but it's 1 mana. Bring a creature back. You lose life equal to its mana value. And so this, you have to lose the life ahead of time. And it's still 2 mana, which is super cheap for this effect. So I mean, if you're making it work, it's powerful.
I think Reanimate's obviously a great comparison. I think Reanimate, even at sorcery speed, is probably better in most decks, but there are certain decks where Grim Calling is far better than Reanimate. You just have to be built to take advantage of it.
I mean, at that point, you're probably running both, but...
Yeah. And, another place this might see play, too, is, Modern, right? Any format with a bunch of shocks or fetches, you can easily get, like, a 3-mana thing out of your yard. I don't know if that's great. Well, there's a lot of good 3-mana creatures in Modern, actually. 3 and less, 2 and less.
I think
even.
Unearth sees play in Modern, right? So, I mean, this can go... It's 1 mana more, but it can also hit 1 mana... It's not restricted to 2 mana value or less, so it could see some play.
Absolutely. I like this card. I'm going to play it. Let's move on.
Yeah, we're definitely playing all of these cards.
This is Aether, Gust, Pilfer, another common thrown in here. It's a 1 blue and a black human ogre rogue. I guess humans and ogres can have babies. It's a 2/3 with flying, and it also has reveal for 2 and a blue-black. When Aether, Gust, Pilfer enters the battlefield from exile, put a +1/+1 counter on it and return up to 1 target creature to their owner's hand. Oh, this is gross and limited.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'd be pretty happy to get this in limited just because it's a creature. It's removal on a stick, right? So yeah, I keep the stick and its removal. So which is you want those kind of like tempo swings in limited, and then. Again, a lot of blue-black rogues in this set, so probably Anawan might be interested, but also getting a little pricey, mana, because it's 7 mana by the time it's on your part of the field. So I don't know.
Now, we haven't seen any reveal creatures with flash, but if this had flash, I mean, but that would kind of maybe defeat the purpose because then your opponent can't hit you with it. But if this had flash. Well, I mean, I still won't see playing command or anything, I don't think, but I don't know. I'm just musing. It doesn't matter. Let's move on. This is Masterform Lens, 3 and a blue enchantment, rare enchantment. Whenever a non-token creature you own on the battlefield is exiled, create a token copy of it. And then whenever a token you control is exiled, draw a card.
Is this trying to hose other players' reveal cards? Is that what this is for? Or is this for your own reveal creature? Oh, it's on the battlefield, and it's you own. Okay.
I think it's for reveal, and I think it's for blink. Like any sort of a blink effect.
5 mana is a lot.
It's one of those classic like do nothing enchantments that is very good if you survive taking a turn off to play it, but surviving a turn off to play it might be hard. But I mean, if you play this into if you're in Modern, you play this into you have like a Soul Herder on the field already. You can get, you copy whatever you exile. That's fun. And I like the part. It's a little puzzling, but whenever a token you control is exile, draw a card. Maybe, if you have these token copies and you just need to turn them into other resources, blinking them for a card isn't bad, right? You ephemerate one of your tokens, you draw a card, just cantrips itself.
I don't know. I think I'm not. I think I'm not sold on it. I think it's probably it's like it's win more in my head, right?
I was just thinking that.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Let's move on. This card I like a lot. Lantern Lit Watchman. I think this card is super cool. Let's get into it. 1 and a white for a 2/3. This is an elf peasant scout at mythic. And it's got a book of text on it, so let's get reading. When Lantern Lit Watchman enters the battlefield, create a 2/1 white dog creature token with vigilance. Okay, so you're getting a 4/4's worth of stats for 3 mana already. That's fun. At the beginning of your instep, look at the top card of each opponent's library. You may put any number of cards looked at this way into their owner's graveyard. At the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top card of your library. You may put it into your graveyard. So, I know Lantern Control is off and on a thing in Modern, which is what this card is calling to, right?
It's very on the
controlling
nose,
the top
yeah.
of your opponent's library. They don't get anything good, and it also gives you good stuff in on the top of your library. I think this could see play definitely in Modern, stuff like that. I think it has a place. I don't know how good controlling the top of your opponent's library is going to be in Commander, but I think if you're into something like if you're doing top deck manipulation, if you're running Gallia, for instance, I think it could really want a card like this.
Yeah, it's an intriguing card. Just surveilling everyone's graveyards once a turn, essentially. Yours at the beginning and everyone else at the end is intriguing, just because you can kind of control a little bit what's coming your way from the other side of the table. And then just having, essentially just if this said surveil 1 on your upkeep, you'd be like, oh, that's still pretty good. And it's 2 bodies. It's essentially, 4 power, 4 toughness for 3. I like it.
So yeah, I because it triggers at your end step, I think it does give your opponent some time to, draw cards, scry away the thing that you left up there. So it gives them a chance to futz around with it before they draw. But I really like this card. I'm going to play this in Standard a ton, I think. I don't think we have any other Lantern pieces in Standard right now, but I'm gonna do it. We have Karazakar, sort of.
Is he in Standard? Is that the Rakdos Beholder, or is that the Dimir Beholder?
You're right. That's the Rakdos one. Xanathar is the one that's in Standard. But yeah, I really like this card. Guys, let me know in the comments below if you think this is going into Modern, if you think this makes Lantern Control more of a thing. I don't know what colors Lantern Control typically is. Maybe I should have looked it up as part of my research, but I think it definitely wants to be something white now, or maybe even Death and Taxes this goes into.
It's black-green. It could splash white for that. Abzan, you could pick up some other... they're running Leyline of Sanctity in the sideboard. So it could.
Double white pips makes it harder to splash for, doesn't it?
Yeah. Most of it's artifacts anyways.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. It's all
It's like Ancient Stirrings, Inquisition, Thoughtseize, Assassin's Trophy, Surgical Extraction, Screaming Symmetry. At least this list I'm looking at right here.
Sure. Okay. Well, yeah. As I said, let us know in the comments below what you think. We can move on, though. Next up is Brood Mediator. This is 3 and a red-green for an Ogre Advisor. and it's a 4/4. Peasants and nobles you control get +1/+1 and have haste. This is fun. I mean, it's interesting because from the red-green cards we've seen, they don't seem to care. Like, they seem to be, combat cards. Which, I mean, this gives your people haste. This seems like one of those decks that you could build in Limited. You just have to, it's like a little mini theme within the larger Limited environment. Because we've seen several peasants. Several of them are white. Looking at you, Lantern Lit Watchman. So yeah, I think this could be kind of fun. Definitely in Commander, if there's a peasants and nobles deck out there, which maybe this set is building up to. I'm sure this is a very good piece there.
This is the kind of card that player at the table who keeps playing Kenrith, who says this is a fair Kenrith deck, it's a nobles deck or whatever. This is the kind of card they would run, right? And then it's still not a fair deck, but they're like, I run Brood Mediator, it's a fair deck. You're like, no, it's not.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I like this card, and we've seen a lot of cards like this before, these sort of lords for, whatever tribe. I kind of like combining peasants and nobles or trying to find a way to wrap them together. That's fun.
I like that he's an advisor on top of, he buffs peasant nobles and he's an advisor. I think the flavor is kind of fun on that.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's like he's good at his job, man. He's good. He's bringing the people together.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. Let's move on. This is Eye of the Storm, which means that card we saw last time, Eye of the Sun, looks to be a cycle, right? We're probably going to get one in each color. They are heavily color pipped, which is interesting for a heavily color pipped in one color, which is interesting for an allied color set, but. They're cool cards. But yeah, let's get into it. Eye of the Storm. This is 2 blue. So 4 blue mana and 2 generic for a 5/6 legendary creature, elemental avatar. It's mythic. It has flying. And whenever Eye of the Storm enters the battlefield or you cast a spell, scry 6. This doesn't.
Is this a mythic? Like, does it?
This is a mythic.
Does this feel like a mythic though? I guess it's gonna be like one of those mythics that's either like $15 or 70 cents, right? It's gonna be someone's gonna break it, or it's gonna be like, hot damn it, I opened Eye of the Storm.
It's gonna be like, I think it's gonna be 70 cents. I mean, by the card name Eye of the Storm, you kind of want it obviously to play it in a deck where you're casting a lot of spells on your turn. Obviously in Storm, if you get this on the field, you probably win the game, but Storm never plays like 6 mana creatures.
I also don't even know if this wins you the game in Storm, because you need to draw cards, not scry.
Yeah, but you're drawing cards already, right? So this just makes sure that
True.
you're drawing the cards you need. And scrying 6 is a ton, but yeah, I don't think this really goes anywhere.
When all I have to say about this is I would play it in my Scry Tribal Commander deck. I think that's everything we need to know about it, right? Like, this seems playable there when everything needs to scry.
I forgot about your Scribble deck, but yeah, this is a shoo-in for any Is it Eligeth?
Yeah, I think it's Eligeth.
If you would scry a card and say draw that many cards. Yeah, this is a shoo-in for that. Absolutely.
Other than that, though, it's pretty rough.
Yeah, other than that, I don't think there's a lot of cards that care about scrying besides Eligeth and maybe one or two others. But I don't think this is a great card, but it's cute. Let's move on. Let's move on to Grove of the Rasa. It's a green enchantment. It is rare, and it says whenever you cast a creature spell, you may counter it. If you do, create a 3/3 green Dragon Warrior creature token with trample. And then for 1 green mana, target creature spell can't be countered by spells or abilities your opponents control. This is good, I think.
It's not busted, but it's cool, right? We've been talking a lot about mana dorks with this set for some reason, but here we are. And this just kind of turns them, because like turn 5, they suck. Turn 5, it's a 3/3 now. It's a 3/3 with trample. And that's significantly better on turn 5 and 6 than a 1/1 that taps for green. And then, I mean, anytime you can make your stuff uncounterable, it's worth looking at.
I think you're exactly right. I think if you're playing a bunch of mana dorks, obviously you want to ramp into something. Whatever that thing you ramp into, you don't want to get countered. And then later, this thing upgrades your mana dorks. So it seems like for a very specific deck, well, it's probably going to see playing Commander for that first, or for the second line of text alone, right? Target creature spell can't be countered by spells or abilities your opponents control.
Absolutely.
Vexing Shusher is already kind of a cool card, and that dies a lot to sweepers and whatnot. This, far harder for your opponents to remove. I feel like this is a Will card, right? Will loves big green creatures, and he hates when they're countered. So I think this has a home in a lot of Commander decks. I don't think it goes anywhere in Standard. Actually, I take that back.
It depends on the green stompy meta, right? Because there's probably someone's gonna be doing green stompy. They'll probably try it out depending on what the 1 and 2 drop slots look like.
Yeah, mono green. This can upgrade a Ascendant Pack Leader. This can upgrade a Sculptor Winner if you don't need the extra mana. This can upgrade a lot of not a lot of things, but a couple of things. I think it may be more of a sideboard card, but we'll see. Maybe a one of.
Yeah, maybe the 1 to 2 of where it's not, you probably don't want 4 necessarily, because at 4, you don't want multiples of this effect, right? You just want 1.
The first card we're looking at is Kyra, or Kira. I'm going to say Kyra because it's a Y. Kyra on Clipped Wings. This is 3 and a white-blue, so 5 mana, Azorius colors. It's a legendary creature, Angel Cleric, and it's a 5/5. Notably, does not have flying because her wings were clipped. Other angels you control get +1/+1. At the beginning of your upkeep and in step, you may pay white-blue hybrid. If you do, choose one. Exile target creature, return to the battlefield under its owner's control, then tap it. Or return target tapped creature to its owner's hand.
So it's 2 mana, bounce a creature to your opponent's hand.
Yeah, or reset one of your ETBs. This seems like a fairly decent value card. I don't think there's a ton of angels with busted ETBs.
No, there could
I feel
be
like most
some
of them
weird
have
Esper Angel. Well, Kaldheim's still the standard, right? That's out of touch I am. So like a Esper Angel deck, that'd be kind of interesting. I don't know if it'd be good, but it might be tier 3 at best, but it'd be interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's a neat card though. It does a lot. Has a lot of things going on.
I think I think I'm playing this probably. I mean, I know the savvy, the cool thing to do is Angel Tribal if this is in Commander. I honestly think I'm just going to play this in Blink.
I don't think it's that good in Angel Tribal, right? I think you just play this in a Restoration Angel in your Blink deck and just call it a day, right? And maybe some Angels that happen to have ETBs.
I mean, two blinks a turn if you're just blinking your own creatures isn't bad. I mean, they do enter tapped, but whatever. Two blinks a turn for 2 mana. That seems like good value.
It's 2 extra ephemerates.
Yeah. I like this card. I think it's decent.
I'm into it.
Let us know in the comments below if we're too unexcited for it. But yeah, or too overexcited. Let's move on. I can speak. Let's move on. This is Midnight Exchange. This is 1 blue mana and 1 black mana for a sorcery, and it is rare. And it has 1 line of text, and that text says, exchange control of 2 target creatures.
Is this a strict upgrade on role reversal from War of the Spark? Wasn't that blue, red, red, or blue, blue, red, and it was basically the same thing?
Yeah, I know. I mean, I don't know that card specifically. I know there's a couple of cards that do this. There's the Trickster Gods Heist in Standard that's 3 mana or something. But yeah, this seems like it's probably the best rate on this effect that we've gotten.
Okay, sorry. Role reversal can do 2 target permanents that share a type, so it's a little more restrictive where it has to be creatures, but it's also 1 mana less. Instead of blue, blue, red, it's just blue, black. So different, still good though.
Yeah, you can sacrifice your creature before they get it, right? Because it targets them.
I'd picture trading a token for something big. That's always when I see cards like this. That's immediately where I jump to. I don't know if it's good, but it's funny.
I'm trying to think if this does something with reveal. I guess you could give them, if you've already revealed your creature, you can give your opponent the creature again, so you can pay its reveal cost again and get more value from it.
Oh, I don't know if that's what you want to be doing with this. I don't know if that's worth the cost.
It seems like there's better
better
things to do, probably. Yeah.
There has to be. If that's where if you're playing this card and that's what you're doing, you need to maybe play a different deck. I don't know. You should be doing something different.
No, but Ian, in that exchange, you eventually end up with both creatures. How could they win?
But I get to pay so much mana to do so. It's such an I don't know. All
right. Let's move on to a this is a white 1-drop at rare. It's also a Savannah Lions, which I love to see. Stalwart Cavalier for 1 white mana. You get a Kithkin Soldier. It's a 2/1 for 1 green mana and tapping this creature, and then tapping any number of untapped other creatures you control. For each creature tapped to activate this ability, target creature gains one of the following until end of turn from among Indestructible, Trample, Reach, Vigilance, Haste, or +1/+1.
You can't do multiple the same. Like, you couldn't do +1/+1 a bunch of times.
Right.
You can choose each one once.
I was about to say this could be really good because you make your whole squad indestructible, but it only targets 1 creature. So it makes 1 creature super hard to deal with and super impressive if you tap all your other creatures.
This will see play because it's a 1 mana 2/1. Right? Like that that alone it'll see some play in some kind of White Weenies deck.
Yeah, definitely. I think if you're playing standard and you're playing something like Trelasara, you might want this because you often have a bunch of Soul Sisters on the battlefield that never attack and never block, so you can just tap them for value now. And another cool card that works with all these tap matters, cards we've seen before. So
I had to think about that. I'd probably mess around with it. I don't know if it'd stick around, but I'd probably try it out once or twice. I don't know. Again, just the fact that it's a 2/1 for 1, I think it's going to do something somewhere.
Yeah, it sort of reminds me of all of last year's White Weenies, where it was full of Selfless Saviors and that Theros enchantment creature. That basically was sort of boggling their creatures, like you couldn't destroy them because they had indestructible or protection every turn. This sort of seems like one of those. Notably, you do have to tap it and a green to give a creature indestructible, so you do have to hold up 1 mana, which isn't always what you want to be doing if you're playing
it can't
aggro.
give itself these abilities. Yeah, I'm a little... I think if you're playing this, you're not necessarily playing it for the ability. I don't know. Yeah, I think you're playing that, and it's just that's a bonus. And that's where my head jumps, at least.
Well, let's move on to the next card, because I think we've probably talked about Stalwart Cavalier enough, and I think you might be right about it. This is Brewjack's Triumph. This is 2 for a black/red. It's a sorcery, 6 mana total. Each ogre and berserker you control deals damage equal to their power to any target, and then destroy all creatures. So if you're in an ogre and berserker deck, that seems like a really good finisher. This actually seems kind of crazy. If you play this and you get through for damage, this sort of gives all your creatures double strikes. They're going to deal damage again. Obviously, you wipe the board, but I think you probably play this as a 1 or 2 of to finish out the game and give yourself a little bit of reach.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I like it. It's just like a huge middle finger, right, on the way out. I like it. It's kind of BM. I like it. It speaks to me that way. It's just like, I'm gonna hit you. I'm gonna kill everything, including my own stuff, and it's gonna hit you again.
Yeah, I kind of like this. Yeah, I think this is cool, especially in Commander. I mean, you have to be playing ogres and/or berserkers, which aren't great tribes, but this might be the best card in Ogre Tribal and Berserker Tribal.
I'm into it. I mean, you got some Berserkers in red-black from Kaldheim, so it's not like there's nothing.
And
that's fun. I like it.
There's got to be some playable ogres out there. Heartless Heated Season, maybe? Is he an ogre?
Yes, is Oh, it comes in the Prosh pre-conflict. Commander 2013. Hold on. Continue. You talk while I look up.
Okay, true. We're going to move on to Umbori Destined to Fall. Will, one of our other co-hosts, who unfortunately isn't here today, did want us to note that he loves this card. It's a very Will card. He loves big green creatures. But let's get into it. This is Umbori, Destined to Fall. It's 5 and a green for a legendary creature, Beast God. That's a fun type. It is mythic, and it is a 7/7, so it's a 7 mana 7/7. And it's just got a heaping of keywords. It has haste, reach, trample, and vigilance. So good luck with that. And then Umbori, it has another ability. When Umbori, Destined to Fall, leaves the battlefield, you may search your library and graveyard for up to 2 land cards and put them onto the battlefield. If you do, shuffle Umbori, Destined to Fall into your library. So I think the closest card we have to something like this is Primeval Titan, which I think is probably better. It doesn't have all the crazy keywords, but it does trigger when it enters the battlefield, and it's a mana less. So if what you're trying to do is get 2 specific lands, Primeval Titan is probably the better choice. But something about this being a big, dumb, haste, reach, trampling, vigilance, beast god, 7/7 kind of appeals to me.
It just kind of speaks to my inner child, right? Like, it's just like, ooh, this is big and funny. It's like beefy, and it does lots of things. The trample, vigilance, haste is just like wild, and the reach is so unnecessary. It's just like my first thought is like, because you're playing this kind of for the big fat body with all the keywords, but you're probably playing it for the paragraph, the second part there. You could like sneak attack this out and sacrifice it, and then that's a way to kind of cheat on the cost a little bit, get an attack, and still get the death trigger.
No, I think that's a pretty good point. This is nuts with sneak attack, because you get the death trigger and then it goes back into your library, so you get to draw it again later.
Yeah, so you could do... trying to think. Ilharg's out of standard. I think Theros rotated.
Oh,
out,
there's
so Perfros is gone.
In this set, we have Scaleborn Avenger, which is unfortunately a 6 mana creature, right, so it
goes right there.
It does, but then you already played a 6 mana creature, so it's like, is 7 really that big of an issue for you?
True.
But
yeah.
One thing I will note, actually, off the sneak attack thing, sneak attack is 1 red mana to sneak attack this out. This will ramp you, because the lands don't enter the battlefield tapped. So on that turn, you'll actually profit 1 mana, which is cool. Well, I guess on your end step you get it, because you have to sacrifice it on your end step. But yeah, I think this is a super fun card. It's one of those things where, like, do you actually need to ramp once you have 7 mana? But I truly use this to find utility lands that you're missing, right? Like a Tech Edge or a
Reliquary Tower. You could be getting
Valakut, of course, if you're in Gruul and want to win games of Magic, which you probably do.
Yeah. What's the other? Yeah, there's a bunch of cards. You get Vesuva. You could get Dark Depths. You could do Thespian Stage. So that tutors out your combo right there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's
with Thespian Stage, Dark Depths.
Yeah, it's basically doing everything Primeval Titan does for you, but you have to get it killed first. But
and it's not repeatable.
It as a body, it's going to kill your opponents better than Primeval Titan, but Primeval Titan's ability probably means that it's still better. Yeah, a fun card. Let's move on. To Fury of the Accused, a 2 red enchantment. It's rare. It kind of looks like this art was meant for a creature and it got changed into enchantment, because it's just a big old dragon lizard.
If this was like off-centered, it'd be much more of an enchantment art, right? Like, if it was zoomed out, I'd be like, okay, I'm into it. But
yeah, but this is just a wrathful dragon man on the art. Anyway, Fury of the Accused. It has a tap ability, so more of those enchantments that can tap. For 1 red, you tap it. Creatures you control get +2/+0 until end of turn. Fury of the Accused deals 2 damage to you. And then it has the static ability. At the end of your first combat phase each turn, if you have lost 4 or more life this turn, you get an additional combat phase. So if you trigger this ability, it deals 2 damage to you. So if you want an extra combat, you gotta figure out some other way to deal 2 more damage to yourself. So you could, shock yourself, It does specifically say... Oh, no, it says if you've lost 4 or more life, so it doesn't have to be damage. You could trigger this off of paying life, which is cool, too. Does this do anything, Ian, like in Commander or Standard or whatever?
Sorry, I'm still hung up on the fact that I'm not used to tapping enchantments. It's still throwing me off. Like, it's making my brain hurt. Like, I've got steam coming out of my ears trying to figure out why this enchantment is tapping. Just because if this didn't tap, I mean, you could trigger... It's essentially a repeatable 6 mana extra combat step. So I guess having it tap fixes it a little bit. I mean... So there's a way to make this work, right? There's always a way to make this work. You could, like, Earthquake for 4 or something, and then have an extra combat step. So if you're doing some kind of... You probably want to play a bunch of cards like that, like Earthquake, like, and Earthquake-like effects where you're just kind of dealing damage to all players, and just do that for 4, and then you can kind of trigger these combat steps for relatively cheap.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I don't know if there's enough cards like this for it to truly have a home in something like Commander. But it... Well, I don't know. I say that, but...
You could put in, like, was it Ren Corliss, who's basically Pyroclasm, Earthquake, Tribal, whatever?
Oh, yeah, Rem Careless. I think I'll fiddle around with it. I'm sure I could... Oh, you know, some sort of... If you have a bunch of pingers, this could work.
Again, is that... a lot of this is boiled down to, is that what you want to be doing?
So yeah, these are the last cards we have. Yeah, this is all they've spoiled today. A pretty interesting batch of cards. I don't think there's any card that's truly gonna warp Standard. I don't know if any of these are gonna be like... Well, okay, I mean, I did forget we got Desolation Ray. I think that's an instant Commander staple for sure. It might prop up in Modern and stuff too. I think that might be the best card of the day, right? Desolation Ray?
Let's say I'm no finance guy, but you might want to pick those up while you can.
This is not financial advice.
Yeah, MTG Root does not endorse financial advice. But pick them up while you can, because I mean that seems like a card that's just ready to be played everywhere.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, Rakdos has never had this good removal, I don't think.
No, for that same Ray to be a sorcery and only hits creature or planeswalker, like that's like what Terminate.
So I truly think Desolation Ray, best card of the day. I don't know if it's close. I mean, in terms of cards that we'll see play in the most decks, I don't think it's close.
Today, no, it might be the best card we've seen. I know Bastard of the Pit was cool, but I mean,
yeah, they're really hyping up Rakdos, aren't they?
I'm here for it. Those are like my favorite 2 colors, so I'm here for it.
I think the card that I'm most like hype about beyond Desolation Ray is useful. I don't know if it truly gets me like hyped because it's like, oh, this is useful, but it, you know, it's just useful.
It's like cool, another staple. Great. One less choice I have to make.
Yeah, Lantern Lit Watchman I think is the card that I'm most excited to play with, definitely in Standard, or Modern, because I love the idea of Lantern control, and this seems like you get to Lantern control your opponents while also beating them to death. So I really want to play with Lantern Lit Watchman. I think that's going to be a gas. It's going to be so fun. I hope.
No, I like the flavor on that card. It's cool. I like that card. I think that's a cool one for sure. I got Master of Ceremony. It just speaks to me. It's just like, it's so fun. It's kind of stupid. Like the art's like it's everything about it. It's like I like it. It's everything I want out of a Magic card, right? It's fun. It's powerful. Yeah, that might be my favorite card spoiled period so far. It's just
heck yeah.
A lot of cool things to do with it.
Other notable mentions, of course, Archon of Community, just because, you know, clearly Wizards is trying to do new stuff with white, and I'm here for it. Yeah, cool cards revealed. I don't think anything too earth-shattering beyond Desolation Ray, but a bunch of cool cards nonetheless.
I mean, truly, I don't know if any of these cards are going to see any play in actual. Never. It's a stupid joke. We can cut this. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay.
I'm tired.
Good shit. I feel that, dude. All right. Well, that is all the cards we have to talk about today. Let me know in the comments below what card you're most excited to play with. Don't say Desolation Ray because we know. We all know. It's okay. I take that back. You can say Desolation Ray. We are honestly just happy for the engagement. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Those things are vitally important to the continuation of humanity. So make sure and do that. And yeah, just keep on living your best life and be healthy and safe out there. Ian, anything to add?
Go Dogs.
All right, we're out.
National champions, baby.